morning, YouTube. So today, since I did the part 1, I'm going to go ahead and do part 2 of the Billiard University exam. Now, in part 1, based on how you did, and if you haven't watched that video, go watch it because I talk about it. But basically, you have scoring tiers on that, and if you score 0 to 50 points, you qualify for the bachelor's exam next. If you score 51 to 69 or 50 to 69, you qualify for master's. And then if you score above 70 and above, you qualify for doctorate. Now I'm going to show you all 3 of the second exams here and talk about them briefly. I'm going to try not to make this a 2-hour video. Once you finish the second exam, you add the score from the first exam to the second exam. That gives you your final score, and that tells you what you would earn. And I will tell you what those scores are shortly. But first, let's talk about the exam. So there's 3 levels, and I have all 3 of them here, the bachelor, master, and doctorate level exams. So the first item in here is the line of balls drill. And so the bachelor level exam is with the balls from the center diamond. Start with a 1-ball gap. Okay. And then 3-ball gap between each of the rest of the balls. And you're putting them in order 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so basically you line them up like this, and you remove all the balls from the center. Okay. Now, what do we have to do? We have to shoot these in order. We have to shoot them in order, 1, then the 2, then the 3, then the 4, in any pocket, starting with ball in hand. Okay? So, you do not get to move the cue ball in between. You don't get ball in hand each time. It's ball in hand, shoot the 1 in, shoot the 2 in, shoot the 3 in, and shoot the 4 in. Okay? Now the difference between this and the master level exam is that the master level exam is 7 balls. So we're going to include the 5, the 6, and the 7. We're still starting 1 ball off the rail, but now it is 2 balls between each. So we're going to get closer. All right, and so the drill for masters looks about like this. And again, you start with ball in hand, you shoot each ball in, you count the number of balls you get right, you do it twice, you take your maximum score. Okay, so for the doctorate version of this, you basically have 1 ball in between each one. In both the bachelor's and the master's version of this, you have enough room that you can make adjustments. Now, one of the things is, if you disturb a ball, if I make the 1 and the cue ball comes off the rail and touches the 2, and the cue ball comes off the rail and touches the 2, then that ends the round. You get credit for making the 1, but you only get the 1 point and you don't continue. And the same is true on the other exams, on the other levels as well. If you disturb a ball, you take the last ball you made and you're done. So, especially on the doctorate level version of this, these balls are blocking the banks to the side pockets. So it is absolutely essential that when you make the 1, the cue ball comes out above the 2. You don't want to be below the 2 because then you have no way to make it without well, you have a way to make it, and I'll talk about that. But if you end up down here on the 2, if you were to cut that in, you're going to make contact with the 3, right? So you have a choice to make. You either take the 2 and end your run there, or what you can do is bank it off the rail into the other corner. So now this is one of those drills where if you get out of line, you're basically screwed. Okay? You have to be perfect the whole time. You have to make the 1 and get above the 2. You have to make the 2 and get above the 3, and make the 3, and it's better to have a thin cut on the 3. Okay, and I'm not actually trying to make these, I'm just hitting them. But it's better to have a thin cut on the 3 than it is to be on the wrong side of it. So you want to overhit these a little bit. The 5 and the 6 are probably the 2 toughest balls because you have the furthest distance to travel to get on top of them. And if you end up below them, you end up with a fairly thin cut to the side where you're not going to be able to put a lot of English on it. Now once you get past the 6, you can see those aren't actually straight, but once you get past the 6 and you're on the 7, 8, 9, and 10, now you start to have the side pockets as an option, and you can shoot the 7 there and roll forward, and 8 here and roll forward. And in fact, it's probably better to use the side pockets once you hit the 7 ball. The 6 maybe, but the 7, you're in decent shape for using the sides. Okay, so that's the first drill. At the doctorate level, it's worth a maximum of 10 points. You shoot it twice, you take your best score. I will tell you that having not practiced this, and with the way that my leaves, the way that I tend to overcompensate on my leaves, I'd be surprised if I make more than about a 5 on that one, doing it dry. Okay, next drill is the rail shot cut drill. Now in this one, you have balls placed around the rails. This is the bachelor's version of that. The master's version adds in 2 balls down on each end rail. So it adds 2 balls there, and it adds 2 balls here. Now I'm going to tell you, you're not allowed to do combinations either. So you have to pocket the ball, you can't scratch, and you cannot do combinations. You are, I believe, allowed to disturb the balls. No, you're not. You're not allowed to disturb the balls. So you can't like shoot the 9 in and draw back to nip the 6 out of the way of the 10. You can't do stuff like that. So you're not allowed to touch any of the other balls. At the master level, think about your problem balls. Your problem ball is the 2 ball, right? It doesn't have a pocket. So the way I would start is by dealing with the problem balls. Cut the 8 in, roll up off the rail, cut the 11 in. I'm not going to touch the 1 except in the case of an emergency where I've gotten a shot where maybe the 2 and the 1 are the last 2 on the table and I don't have a good shot on the 2, I'll take the 1 to get the shot on the 2. But if you're not in trouble, don't touch that 1 unless you need to. It should be your last ball. It's the easiest ball out of all of these. Okay, so I would shoot the 8, shoot the 11, and I would roll up the table to get a leave on the 9. I would shoot the 9, I would shoot the 10, then I would shoot the 6, and I would take care of the rest of them. So that's how I would approach that at the master's level. At the doctorate level, now it changes a bit because we get problem balls added to each of the side rails as well. So now we're going to have this. Okay, and if you look at this, that means that you've got a 7 is a problem, the 3 is a problem, the 2 is a problem, the 5 is a problem, the 4 is a problem, the 6 is a problem. So what you want to do here is focus on getting the bottom ball out of the way. And I would actually start with like the 12, shoot it and come out. Very easy for the 9, bounce off the rail, shoot the 10, come up the table, maybe shoot the 14 and come out for the 8, shoot the 8, leave myself the 11, take the 11, and roll up the table for the 15 or the 13, depending on what my angle looks like. Take care of all of the outside edge balls first, and then worry about the ones that are in here. Now, again, the 1 ball is going to be the easiest ball on the table. We're going to use that if we get in trouble to get us out of trouble, or it'll be our last shot because it has all 6 pockets it can go into. So that's the deal with the second drill. And again, so you can get 7 points at the bachelor's, you can get 11 on the master. It's 1 point for each ball. Okay. So normally I don't like drills like these, but because this one is not specifying order and it's allowing you to play your own pattern, we're going to give it a pass because it's not forcing you into a certain set of repetitions. It's allowing you to think and do your analysis. Okay, the next 3 drills are 9-ball pattern drills. I'm just going to lay out the doctorate one for this. I'm not going to do all 3 of them. Basically what this, so each of these ones next to the rails are half a ball off the rail. All right, so you get ball in hand to start with, and basically you shoot them in rotation as if you were playing 9-ball. So you can start with the 3, you're going to leave yourself the 4, come out for the 5 inside, roll forward for the 6, roll forward for the 7 inside, roll the cue ball up here for the 8, roll the cue ball down here for the 9. Now, each of the exams you have to do 3 9-ball patterns, and they're different. You try all 3 of them and you take the 2 lowest scores. Okay, so if I do all 3 of them and I get a 7, and I miscue and miss the 3, I only get 7 points because I got a 0 on the first one. So you take the 2 lowest scores. Okay, so you do 3 9-ball patterns. They get a little bit harder as you go. This is the first one for the doctorate. It's fairly straightforward. I'm going to skip to the last one for the doctorate. Now this one has a wrinkle added to it in that you must use at least 2 rails, shooting from the 6 to the 7 and shooting from the 8 to the 9. So you pocket, I'd probably put the 3 down here, roll up, force, I would roll forward out to here, shoot the 5, but I don't want to come back here. I want to just come out a little bit, and then when I shoot the 6, I shoot the 6 in, 1, 2, and out here for the 7, you shoot the 7, come straight up the table, you shoot the 8 in, 1, 2, and over here for the 9. So a little bit of a wrinkle there in that you have to do at least 3 or 4 rails. Okay, so not just 3, you actually have to go, or not just 2, you have to go 1, 2, off that side rail, off the side rail. So 1, 2, 3, and in for the 7. You are allowed to come off that 4th rail. 3 or 4 rails to get on the 7. Same thing for the 9. 3 or 4 rails. Now after the 9-ball patterns, and I will link to these instructions so that you can go get the layouts yourself. So after the 9-ball pattern drills, now you have 8-ball pattern drills, and you have 3 of those. And again, you have to take whichever is your two lowest scores. So you get 3 8-ball patterns, and I'll show you what the hardest doctorate level pattern looks like, and I'm pretty sure it has a special rule too. This is the layout for the doctorate version of the 8-ball pattern drill. And so for this one, just like with every other one, I want to get the obstacles out of the way. If you look at the 10 does not really go in this pocket. You got half a pocket if you want to do that. So for me, I'm going to start with that 10 because every other ball has multiple ways you can approach it. But that 10, it's really going to cause you issues. So I would shoot the 10 in the corner, roll the cue ball up a little. I'd shoot the 9 in, go ahead and get it out of the way. The 8 is past the pocket, so you're not going to hit the 8 with the 9 if you make it. Shoot the 9. I would come up the table. I'd leave the 12 alone. I would use the 12 as my key ball, as it's called, which is the last ball before the 8. I would leave the 12 as my key ball. I would shoot the 11 in the corner, roll forward, tap the 3 in, shoot the 14, I'm sorry, not the 3, 13, come out a little, shoot the 14 and come up off the rail and out. Try to get as straight as possible on that 12. And then I'd shoot the 12 with stop, leaving me a great shot on the 8 in the corner. That's the pattern that I would play there. All right, so 8-ball pattern drills, you're shooting stripes, you have obstacles in here. You know, the idea behind this obstacle is if I shoot the 13 a little bit hard, now I have no shot on the 14. Or if I shoot the 14, I now have no shot on the 13, so you have to control your English to keep the obstacle out of it. These two do a couple of things. If you get the wrong angle on the 12, now you've got to get away from them. Because effectively, you can't shoot through here and make the 8. So these prevent you from shooting the 12 and just rolling forward for the 8. They make you have to stop it and shoot it at an angle. You know, they're there in weird places where they're blocking a lot of shots, just like the 8-ball is placed in a position where it's blocking the 10. All right, so that's the 8-ball pattern drill. And yes, I will be shooting that. The next one is a safety drill. And this one's kind of interesting, okay? So the way that it's set up is that you have a, quote, tightly racked obstacle ball cluster that is sitting down here towards the end of the table. So for me, I'm going to use the magic rack to cluster them. That way I know I've got a tight cluster. It also makes it a little more difficult because if you touch the rack, which you are allowed to do, if you touch the rack, I'm looking for my template. Where is it? This is the same template that we used in the last one where it's a cutout square of paper that, where is it? So I'm just going to use a piece of paper like I did last time. So the way that this is set up is you have the template out here with the center of it 1 diamond from the corner and the middle of it 2 diamonds up. You then rack the balls, and I'm going to use the magic rack to do this. You rack the balls with the 9 in the middle of the, or with the middle ball in the typical 9-ball rack. I'm just going to put the 9 in there since I've got the 9. Doesn't matter what balls are here, they just need to be a cluster of balls. Okay, so we need a tightly racked cluster of balls here. The reason tightly racked is because, like I said, you are allowed to come, but if you if you hit them and a ball rolls off of the paper and is no long, so if it's overlapping, that's fine. But if it rolls off the paper, that doesn't count. That's a bad hit, bad shot. Okay, so on the bachelor's version of this, all of them use the cue ball or the one ball, 2 diamonds up and one diamond over. The doctorate, the bachelor version has 3 places that you shoot the cue ball from. It's here, here, and here, roughly. The master's version has 5 places, starting here on the spot, then this one, and there, and then half diamond over, half diamond over. Okay, and then the doctorate version starts here, here, half a diamond here, half a diamond here, half a diamond here, half a diamond here, and half a diamond here. Okay, now on all of these shots, what you're trying to do is make a legal shot, so you have to hit the one ball. You hit the one, and then however you get there doesn't matter, but you end up on the other side of this cluster of balls in a place where you cannot see any part of the one ball. Okay, so you're like from here, the easy one for this is just to nip it and spin down to that end of the table, and that's a good shot. Okay, if it's over here and I can see the one ball, then it's not, but if it's in here and the one ball is completely eclipsed, then yes, it's a good shot. Okay, so that's that shot. And again, you'll see me shoot all of these shots here shortly as I practice this, after I cut out a template and write down the table and a few other things. Okay, after the safety drill comes a kick shot drill. Okay, now the kick shot drill is not to make a ball. It is to make contact with the ball. Okay, and to start with, so for bachelors, the cue ball starts 1 diamond from the corner and 1 diamond up, and you must kick 1 rail, make contact with the ball, and either the cue ball or the object ball must hit a rail. So you have to make a legal shot. You don't have to make the ball, but you do have to make a legal shot. Okay, for the masters and the doctorate, an additional ball gets added. There, same thing. Kick into the 1, make contact, put the cue ball back there, kick into the 6, put the cue ball back, kick into the 7, kick into the 3. Okay. And then, for the masters, you get cue ball in hand, and you make a 2-rail kick to the 1. Now, I'm going to suggest that the easiest way to do the master's version is going to be to come off the end rail, the side rail, and hit the 1. For the doctorate, you get cue ball in hand on each shot, kick off 2 rails, and hit the 1 ball. So they call this out as the 2 ball. So off 2 rails to hit the 1. 1, 2 to the 1 is probably the easiest way to do it. It's just a simple 2-rail kick. Then it's 2 rails to the 3 ball, which again is probably easiest like that. And then with cue ball in hand, kick off any 3 rails to the 2. Okay, now that's going to be our normal 3-rail long table bank, but it is not perfectly dead in the corner, so it's a little bit offline. You're going to have to adjust just a little bit. And we'll see that when I shoot it. So that's the kick shot drill. The next drill is the bank shot drill. Okay, the bank shot drill is just what it sounds like. So for the bachelor's version, one hand, shooting cross side. So bank it over, pick up the cue ball, move it, bank it over, pick up the cue ball, move it, bank it over. Okay, 3 shots for the bachelor version. The master version and the PhD version are a little different. Wait, let me, yeah, okay. So, the way that these work is the master version has the 1 ball right here, and you must bank it cross side from there, from there, from there, from there, and from there. All of those going cross side. So obviously this one's a little bit tougher because you're backward cutting it. Okay, so the PhD version is a little different. You're going cross corner, not cross side. So this one starts with the cue ball on the spot, bang it cross corner. Put it back up, and now you're going to start moving down the table. It looks like 1 or 2 balls lengths. It actually doesn't say. It looks like it's actually half a 9 each time. So from there, from there, from there, from there, from there, all the way down to there. Now, when you get to these last two shots, when you get to this shot and the one before it from right here, those are kisses. So you're going to have to use English to avoid the kiss. But you have to bank it cross corner from each position. And you get 1 point for each one you make. Okay, next one, elevated cue drill. Now I'm just going to show you the PhD or the doctorate version of this. So basically there are a bunch of positions, and they're either with the cue ball frozen to the rail so that you have to shoot into the cue ball, or you're shooting over a ball. And the shot is straight in, so you have to shoot it in, make it, and not follow it into the corner. Okay, so you can either cheat the pocket, or you can either cheat the pocket, or you can just use speed control and hit it soft. Now, I will tell you that some of these are going to be rough to use speed control. One of these is this shot here. And this is actually up here. So shooting that into the pocket and not following it in, you need a really good touch to do that with speed control, or you could cheat the pocket. Not much pocket to cheat there at that angle. And actually probably the hardest one to do anything with is this one. Over a ball, center of the table, with the 7, well, they say the 7, but I've got the 6 here, basically on the head string. it would be really easy to follow that in, and you have no pocket to cheat. Unless you take the short hop off the rail right here. That one could be interesting. All right, so that's the elevated cue drill. You know, this is long enough, I'll probably put the other one, I'll probably put the actual practice in a separate video. All right, the last, next to the last is the jump or masse drill. And the way that this works is you have a setup on the table with a certain distance between the cue ball and the first object ball. For the doctorate level one, it looks like this. You have a 2-ball gap. And then the one, and you must pocket the cue ball without, in this corner, by either jumping or massing. I will tell you that for the practice run, I'm skipping this drill. And you can masse too, so you are allowed to go around it. But I'll tell you, I am not going to shoot this for practice, simply because I'm not going to drill a hole in my table by jumping or massing repeatedly in the same location. I'm just not going to do that. When I shoot for real, if I absolutely have to have the points, I will shoot this drill, but I really don't want to, just because this is going to mess the table up. I don't mind jumping, randomly during a game, because you're not jumping over and over from the same place. Just like my break, you see I break in the same location all the time, and you can see the spots here on the table. Those are actually burn marks. The heat generated from the cue ball causes the cloth to burn. Well, when you're jumping, you're not going to hurt the slate, not unless you just really screw it up. But what you do is you will actually form a dent in the cloth. You'll form a weak spot in the cloth, and when you shoot over that weak spot, you will be able to see the effect on the cue ball. You'll slow roll a ball for the pocket, it'll catch the edge of that dent and swerve. And you're like, what just happened? Well, it's because you repeatedly jumped in that one spot. Yeah, not going to do that drill for practice. And I will only do that drill for score if I have to have it to reach the top level or to reach the next level. All right, so after that is a 9-ball break drill. Okay, here's how this one works. You rack the balls. You get a point for not scratching. You get a point for the cue ball not hitting a rail. You get a point for the cue ball stopping in a 4-diamond area in the center of the table without crossing the head string and without going below. You get a point for not scratching and 1 or more balls pocketed, and you get a point for meeting the WPA 3-point rule. That rule, if you remember, the rule is that you must send 3 balls across the head string, but you get to deduct 1 ball for every ball you pocket. So if I make 2 balls and 1 ball comes across the head string, that's good. If I make 1 ball and 2 balls come across the head string, that's good. Or if 3 balls come across the head string, that's good. Any one of those combinations is 1 point. And so now on this one for the doctorate level, is that true for all of these? You get the middle value. So you have 5 points available to you on this drill. If you shoot a 5, a 4, and a 3, you get 4 points. If you shoot a 1, a 2, and a 2, you get 2 points. I did not see what happens if you have like a 1, and a 2. Do you get the 2 points or do you get the 1? I don't know. I mean, if I get a 4 and if I get 2 4s and a 5, my middle value would be 4.5. My median value, which is what's being asked for, I don't know if you go with the one you get the most of or if you go with the one you get the least of. So I'll have to look that up and see, or send an email over to Dave and see what he has to say. And that is the exam 2. There is an exam 3. It's not for points. It's advanced techniques, things like shooting jump shots off the cushions and radical masse and time shots and stuff like that. I will do that one at some point, but that's not the goal today, and there are a whole bunch of other things to cover before we ever get to that one. So that's the drill, and I'll be right back to tell you what the scores are for each of the different final grades, so to speak. So I'll be right back. If you get, this is adding both exam 1 and exam 2 together. If you get 55 to 84, you get a bachelor's. 85 to 99 is a bachelor's with honors. 100 to 124 is a master's. 125 to 139 is a master with honors. 140 to 179 is a doctorate, meaning you need 70 on both exams. And then 180 to 200 is a doctorate with honors. So if I'm sitting on 179 points, I'm going to shoot the jump shot drill just to get those points. I will not shoot that drill otherwise. There are videos on how to approach all of these that are available from their site. I will link those, again, I'll link the site and the exams down below so you can go there. And I will be shooting a practice run of this, but I want to put it in a separate video because this is just going to be too long. I think it's going to be like 2 hours if I do this and shoot the drill. That's just way too long. So with that, I'm going to let you go on this one. If you like what you see, hit like, hit subscribe, ding the notification bell, and we'll see you next time.